Welcome to my nonprofit website advocacy tour of the Electronic Frontier Foundation website. I chose the Electronic Frontier Foundation because they're an organization that is focused on defending citizens' rights in the digital world. So they've been active recently in dealing, for example, you can see here with the NSA spying scandal, and they've been acting since about the 90s to help protect people on the internet, which is something that no other organization was really doing at the time. I think the work that they do is really interesting, so I chose this site. And in this tour, I'm going to explain the EFF's advocacy, purpose, credibility, and source usage by reading a few of different pages on the site. The site's really big and they have a lot of content, so I'm only going to read a couple of pages in order to give you a representative idea of what's going on. So, in other words, the other pages that I'm not talking about would really be consistent with the explanation that I'm providing for these. So just to start out, who they are and what they do. So we can go to this About page and see a really basic general text description of what this organization is and what it is that they do. So they started in the beginning of the internet, and they bring together a bunch of different experts in both technology and law in order to help kind of propose policy and solve problems that are present right now with technology as it relates to our rights and laws. You can see from this page that it's not particularly digital. It has some basic writing and just some kind of traditional small paragraph text that explains what they're doing, and then some links to other areas of the website, and this nice little banner here stays in place depending upon what part of the site that you're in, so that's kind of consistent. There's no video, there's no audio, there's no multimedia artifact, which is actually pretty interesting given the fact that this organization is the Electronic Frontier Foundation. So they're really set up to deal with digital content, but they're doing it in a way that really isn't tapping a full reserve of like digital text. And I'll explain why I think they're doing that in a minute, but this is just to give you a sense that this is their advocacy. And this page, Our Work. So it shows you through these actually kind of nicely designed infographics here. These are different areas that this organization works with. So fair use, that's dealing with music, movies, that kind of stuff, innovation, privacy, all these different kinds of areas. And they also here kind of show you through this nice little separated column format that they work a lot with law. They also publish white papers that are supposed to kind of give lawmakers and anyone else interested some really high quality information on a variety of subjects. And then they have it separated out into technology here. So their purpose is to work kind of across these different areas and using these different tools to help inform a wide variety of audiences about their rights in the digital age. You can see from a lot of these pages that they're not necessarily using sources from a variety of outside areas. They're mostly internally linking. I don't think, though, I'm going to argue that that doesn't impact their credibility, because we can go over to this work section and you can see here that they're actually producing legal cases and producing white papers. So the EFF is bringing together a wide range of experts in order to produce their own content. So while they're not linking to a lot of websites that are different, or they're not linking to a lot of different sources, they're producing a lot of really important content. So I don't think that hurts their credibility. I think this actually boosts their credibility, because they're the organization that's actually coming up with this content. And they're really, I mean, generally the only organization that's doing a lot of this kind of work. They're also, you can notice, they use sources a lot. They use a lot of links, especially in this section. They're using a lot of sources. So I don't think that they're projecting themselves as something that's not necessarily credible. And part of the way that they do it is through creating a lot of high quality sources and also linking to a lot of high quality sources. You also notice that there's lots of content here, and still none of it is necessarily using multimedia. A lot of it's just simple kind of text-based content. And I think the overall impact of that, so to explain some of the broader kind of rhetorical concepts that are going on here, their point of view as an organization is they're trying to set themselves up as the most reliable kind of source on a lot of these issues. And I think we can see that kind of right up front on this homepage, that they don't have any kind of like cheesy YouTube videos or like annoying slideshows, but they just have stuff that's really well kind of tastefully designed, that it illustrates what they're doing and who they are without, I think, using a lot of gimmicks. And I think that's important. I think they're trying to show their legitimacy through some of the deliberate rhetorical decisions to not use stuff like video on their homepage. And I think that impacts their purpose. They're trying to be a serious organization that's advocating for citizens' rights on the internet. And I think in order to do that, you really can't be cheesy, because if they had a bunch of like terrible YouTube videos or slideshows, or they were trying to like make really silly content, then they wouldn't really stand up as being a legitimate organization, or they wouldn't appear to be. So I think if they had a thesis, it's kind of hard to tell because they have such a wide variety of content. We can see like digital rights battles, NSA reform, the Panopticlick, which is a play on Foucault's Panopticon, 5 major hacks of the year, probably detailing data loss, EFF fights for public's right to know. So their thesis is probably that we need to be protected in the age of the internet, and that the government isn't necessarily doing a great job of doing that. So in order to support that thesis, we can see that a lot of their headlines have stuff dealing with privacy. You could see that we have Human Rights Watch versus DEA. They're setting us up very, very clearly in an opposition between this group and the government. We have a very clear EFF. They have an entire really NSA section that's dealing with spying. They have areas to oppose. So at the end of the day, their kind of rhetorical purpose is to persuade us to do something about it. And you can see that this entire banner that stays up during whatever page you're on allows us to enter an email address so we can kind of keep up with their news. Takes us straight to this NSA spying thing that tries to encourage us to take action. And they also have ways for us to follow and kind of stay engaged with the EFF regardless of what they're doing. So I think we can really see that their point of view is very clear. This depiction of, I particularly like this one where it's the NSA is kind of plugged into this flag and got the eagle with the headphones on, the evil red eyes. So I think we can clearly kind of see the purpose of this website through some of the ways that they use text.